Hello, hackers. Good morning. How are you? Well, thank you for being here in this talk. Today is a special day. I decided not being in conferences almost 8 years ago when my second daughter was born, but this was a very good opportunity to be again on a stage. So I'm gonna tell you today a story. It's a story about something that we researched years ago. We did a proof of concept, but we decided not to publish it. We just do it internally because it's something that, from our point of view, is working years and years before we did the research, and is still happening today. And I thought that today was a good opportunity to tell you that story. It's a story about Gremlin Apps and Gremlin Botnets, and it's a story about what we were doing with that and what can be done in your company, in your smartphone, in your device, or to attack companies. So the idea is quite simple. The idea started years ago in 2010. This is a blog post of my personal blog. It's a blog post in the day, the April Fool's Day in Spain, which is 28th of December. That day you can publish anything which is lie, just to make people worried. So that day I used to publish always something. And in 2010, when we started to work in this idea, I published this. I said that FOCA, how many of you know FOCA? I love you. The rest, you can go out of the room, please. So FOCA is a tool that we created and we published in 2006, if I remember correctly. And the idea is that it's a tool that allows you to download public documents from websites, PDF, Word, Excel, Word files, whatever. Download automatically all of them, extract metadata, hidden information, and hidden data inside the document. And using some algorithms, it's able to cluster information and print out the internal network map of a company. It's very easy. It's an Spanish tool. It's just one-click tool. Just click the button and does everything. And it became very popular at that time. Hundreds of thousands installations around the globe. And we start to think about the idea of making this job. What if we turn this app, this very popular app, which is not open source at all, it was proprietary source code, and we use a banner as a cover channel to send commands to the FOCA and do things in the laptops of people that have installed the tool. Of course, we didn't do that. You trust me? We didn't do that, but we published this, and a lot of people started to worry about. And it happened there. The idea was like this. It was very simple. Every single FOCA that was installed around the world was downloading an image. That image was an ad, and we could put commands in that app using steganography. The idea is that you have a cover channel to connect to the app, and you can transform malicious only one single app and do whatever in that computer. That was the idea in 2010, but we decided not to do it. The truth is that in 2013, when we sold the company to Telefonica and we created a cybersecurity company called 11paths, we started to work in the mobile world. So we created a tool. That tool was a big data that was collecting all apps that were published in all the markets, Google Play, App Store, and all the Android markets. Every day we download every single app that we have identified. And once that we have that app, we open the app and index it in a big data environment for every single parameter that we have in the app. So having that big data that was created in real time, it was day by day generating more information and more data about the app. We did a lot of research. One of the research that we did is about steganography. And the idea was trying to discover if it's possible for someone, for instance, someone in Google Play or in App Store to discover a cover channel using steganography in pictures. And the truth is that it's very complicated because when you upload the app, it's an static analysis that is performed. And if you are using steganography, you need to have a dynamic analysis of the environment. You need to run the app and see how it works to detect the cover channel. We did it with a lot of images that were belonging to apps in the Google Play, and the truth is that we weren't able to discover any single steganography channel in the app. Could be some warnings and specific images that could be one of those cover channels, but the truth is that we weren't able to discover one single saying it's true. Someone is using this cover channel with steganography. Later on, after we have that tool and we did that first research, something started to happen in Google Play. Gremlin Apps appeared. This was one of the Gremlin apps that was discovered in Google Play, in Android. The idea is quite simple. The developer uploads this app to the market, to the Google Play market, and it was analyzed by the system in Google Play. And at some time, it changed. It became another and completely different app. So in this case, as you can see, it has the icon and the name of a very popular game, which is Cap the Rope. In this example, if you look for the package name, it doesn't have to meet with the app name. And if you were to Google Play and look for that package in the cache, you will discover that the app, days before, was completely different. It was a screensaver to put beautiful images on your Android device, but at some point, the developer decided to change the app and transform it in something different. And when the app was transformed in that Cap Rope Christmas edition, it becomes malicious. This wasn't the only one. It started to be a trend in the malware industry, and they started to do this with a lot of apps. This is another example. This was an app, Pixel Battery Saver. It was on sale in the internet. They were selling the app by $700, which is peanuts, and with 50,000 installations. So you have 50,000 devices controlled by one single app that you can pay for $700, which is very, very cheap. At some point, someone did the maths and say, okay, this is a business case perfect for us. So they bought this app and transformed it into a rogue antivirus to steal money for the customer that installed it. So people that had this app at that time, the next morning, they receive alerts saying, okay, you have a virus, you have to pay, you want to remove the virus, etc. And they were able to earn a lot of money with this example. So having all this on the table and having this technology, we decided to look for another way of analyzing and using Gremlin apps and Gremlin botnets. The idea is that our tool, we decided to call it Tacit, which is a big data with data stream, was having a lot of information, and we have all versions for all the apps. So to us, it was very easy to discover an app that was transformed into a malicious Gremlin app, and also, on the other way, to track what happened before with this app. So the tool, in essence, is like a Google for looking to, like a search in which you can search for any single detail about the apps. You can look for URLs, you can look for users, you can look for the developer emails, you can look for APKs, you can look for library versions, whatever piece of information that is in an app is indexed, and you were able to search for that app. And it was nice because you can discover a lot of leakages, looking for ports in the URLs, for usernames in the URLs, for text file with password, etc. It was like dorking in Google. If you like this, in YouTube there are a lot of videos of me showing how to dork into this technology and discover a lot of things. Password files, user in URLs, users in FTPs, whatever. Whatever you think that you cannot find in an app is wrong, is on it. Someone believed at some point that it's a good idea to put a password or an AP key inside the app. So doing that, we decided to do a proof of concept. What if instead of creating a botnet and transfer all the apps into malicious, change the business model of this technology? What if instead of selling the botnet, of becoming malicious all the app and do something to all the customers, we go for something more quiet? Instead of that, we are going to sell targets. The idea is, what if we are able to control a lot of apps with a lot of permissions, installing a lot of devices, and we are able to discover who people is behind of each device? What if we are able to discover what email address, phone number, Twitter account, whatever is behind that app, and we are able to sell not devices, but companies, but executives, but people that are working for specific companies or organizations? That was the idea in essence, just to sell targets that were installing that app. For instance, how many of you have installed anytime in your life, a free app in your device? Hands up. And how many of you did that because your daughter, your son, your kid said, "Dad, please, can you install this app that is a free game that my friends are playing in their parents' device"? How many of you did that? Well, this is very common. Free apps is something that people love the most. So we started to work in this idea. So let's see how can we control a lot of apps. Let's see how can use to get information from the device to know who is that people behind. Let's try to do some open source intelligence to collect more data from that person, trying to discover what is that. We created a tool that we name it as Dirty Business Card. The idea is you give me your business card, I scan your phone number, your email address, and search on the internet every piece of information that is related to you. And we are doing exactly the same with the information that we collect from the app. And once that we got that, turn a Gremlin app, only one of the botnets, into malicious, and using steganography to transfer and exchange data between the command and control and the endpoint. We have a quiet and secure communication channels. And later on, not trying to be very, very obvious that the app is doing something wrong, we are going to use always opportunistic usage of permission. It means that we are going to use only permissions that for the user are normal, are okay, and we are going to use that permission in the right moment when the user is doing something related to that permission, just to not make any warning on it. So when we did that, we tried to discover how many permissions do you have to collect information from one single app, and how many of those permissions you need to have to make sure about what the people is behind that device. And the truth is that at the time in which we did this research and this proof of concept, we were in 2018, and 60% of the devices, of Android devices, which was the operating system that we used for this proof of concept, were having Android 6.0 or less, which means that you have access to account permission, you have access to a lot of permissions to get that data. So you can get the phone number. We managed to collect the phone number. You can take it from the SIM card. We can take it from the operating system. You can take it also from accounts, because some of the internet accounts that people are using are based on email, but others are based in phone number. For instance, Telegram was one of those accounts. And you can access to information to almost everything related to that user. Doing tricky things in the app, but you can, using common permissions that you can ask for to the installation process. And most of the apps that are in the selling markets have that permission. So you don't have to worry so much about that permission. And this is the truth, the reality. 61% was having a version under Android 8.0 in 2018, February of 2018, if I remember correctly. And you were able to know very well who was before that Android device. Today, and this is from 1 week ago, almost 50% of the devices are still in Android 9 or less, because fragmentation in Android is a nightmare. So it's very complicated for Google engineers to make sure that something which is improving security in Android is reaching all the installation base. So if not, we were looking for another trick, very nice trick, which is using OAuth. There are a lot of apps that were asking for logging with your Google account, your Facebook account, your Twitter account. How many of you have logged in an app using your Google account or Facebook account, Twitter account? It's wonderful. When you log with one of those identities that you have, your identity provider asks you for permission in something that they call a scope list. It's a list of permissions that you are giving to that app to access to all information that you have. For instance, if someone asks access for your emails and your files or your personal information or whatever, you need to make sure that you are not doing click on yes, because one single yes, and it doesn't matter if you have a second factor authentication, because OAuth is not using second factor authentication. So anyone that has one single approval of your OAuth token to connect to your identity provider is going to be able to access all your emails, send information impersonating you, get all the data that you're receiving, etc. So one of the tricks that we did is, okay, let's look for apps that were using OAuth. Let's ask for simple permission 3, 4, 5 times, and after that, if we want to becoming malicious that app, the only thing that we need to do is to change the scope list, and just because the user is trained to say yes to this authentication process in this app, is going to say yes by default. This is a nice trick. It works very well, because once that you get into one single app 3, 4, 5 times, you are not reading any change in the permission list. So once that you get information about who is behind that app, you can search for information related to that specific person. So we created this tool, this Dirty Business Card. I'm not going to show you the video, but we use a lot of easy, simple tricks to discover where you are, tricks that are very common in waterholing attacks, etc. The idea is that just trying to recreate account using your email or your phone number, and if we cannot recreate the account because the account exceeds, we know that you have an account in that website. It was very common. Today still is a leakage that a lot of companies, a lot of websites have on the internet. This is an example, just trying to reset a password for a user that exists and doesn't exist, and you just getting true or false answer, you know if that person has an account in that place. So we have hundreds of places on the internet that are of our interest to check if one email belongs to one or another website. So later on, let's to the supermarket. let's buy the apps. It's like going to the shops and select exactly what do you want. You need to do several decisions. First one, does this app the right permissions that I need for my scheme? Yes or not? You look for the app, you look for the permissions. What is the number of installation that this app has? Is good for me? Yes or not? The price is good for me? Yes or not? And later on, you can decide if it has the right target. For instance, if you want to target people working in the army or personnel working in the administration, probably you need to look for the right apps. If you have an app for information related to where are the military camps in one company and it's a free app, probably some of the people that is installing that app is related to the army, so it's a good target to buy. So I can select specifically which kind of target people is good for my botnet, and also the price. So this is the price that I took yesterday. So one app with 100,000 installation is between $1,000 and $5,000, which is peanuts. So one of the things that we started to worry at that time in 2014 when we started with this is that we needed to check all the apps that were installed in the employees' devices, just for make sure that no one of them is in a market to be sold. Because if someone buys that app, it could be a cyber criminal or someone trying to change the behavior of the app. So we created this app looking for security in all the app. But one of the things that for us was very relevant is how many of the apps installed by my employees is on sale right now. Later, how can take the data, how can transform it into malicious in a silent way, in a quiet mode? Well, first of all, nobody is suspect of a permission if they can explain it. This is wonderful. If you are able to explain why an app is asking for one permission, you don't need to know how many times is using that permission off, or if in true they are using that permission for that. You can explain it in your mind, it's good. So yeah, it's because this is an app for enhancing photo with beauty effects. I'm going to give access to all my photos. That's it. Very simple idea. Nobody has worried about the huge number of apps for applying effects in pictures that are asking for access to all your pictures. How many of you have been using one of those apps? None? Yeah. This is very common. Secondly, if you are using, for instance, if you are using an app and you access to your photos, if the app is accessing much more photos than the one that you are selecting, you cannot detect it, because at that moment you are accessing to the photos. So for you it's normal any behavior that the app is doing. Exactly the same with the camera. If you are opening the camera to do something, to take a picture like Pokemon Go or whatever, which is augmented reality, now no one is going to worry if that app at that moment is using exactly that permission to take pictures, for instance. That's something that is very difficult to detect. So if you use at the same time that the app is using that permission on your own benefit, no one is going to detect it. So, and of course, there are a lot of tricks to do that. You can infect the libraries, etc. There is one proof of concept quite nice. It's long time ago. Is Xcode Ghost that infected Xcode compiler that was pirated on the internet to infect all app, and was doing more or less the similar trick. So, Putting all this on the same picture, we decided to do a test with this app. This was a proof of concept, very, very simple. It's a game. It's a game just asking, what do you prefer? And showing you 2 pictures, and you need to say, I prefer this other one. How many prefer Real Madrid? How many prefer Barcelona? Please, Barcelona, out of the room. Well, that was the game. And it worked. It's a good work. You can have thousands of installations, and it's working very well. Only when you activate one of them, when you trigger one of those apps using a steganography, you are going to control the app. So the idea is quite simple. We are using the banner in this case, and as you are going to see, the banner is always still. You cannot see anything. We reload the banner quietly. So for the user, the interface is just loading pictures, but the trick is in the banner, and the banner is configuring one email, one phone number, or one Twitter account to activate that app. So in this example is with one simple app, but you can use it with different apps for different types. It's one single banner that you share with all the apps that you have. It doesn't matter if one app is a game, another app is for photo enhancing, if you have another app for calendars or whatever. You control the apps, all of them download the banner, and you activated one of them. And once that you activated one of them, with the information, in this example, the phone number, you can do whatever you want. This is an easy video, an example, quite a simple example. As you can see, we have 2 apps. We put a phone number. Sorry, I covered the phone number. You activated the phone number, and the app that is activated is going to become malicious. So in this example, as you can see, the banner is not moving at all, but we are downloading asynchronously the banner, and when the app is activated, it's owned. And in this example, just open my personal blog post. This is not activated, so you can be playing whatever you want nothing gonna happen. On the other hand, when you decide to activate this, exactly the same. You set up a new number, which is what we already did, and exactly the same. It's going to be owned. This is an example about how it works, just using a steganography to connect to the app. So right now, the left one is being activated. You will see here, owned, and that's it. So quite simple. Once that you have that, you can sell whatever you want. So you can sell this target to that for this price, because it's a mobile device that is belonging to a top executive in a company or in the government or whatever. And once that you activated that device, you sell to the customer that device. This is example, exactly the same. Just connecting the apps, getting information using the permission to discover who you are. And once that I know who you are, we are going to be able to sell you as a target to anyone and to do whatever you think. In this example is another proof of concept that we use to report this, and we are going to have access to phone, to contacts, pictures, email, etc. All that you want it. So it's 2 minutes. Right now we are activating. The app is activated. Now what happens, because right now we ask for another command. Nothing happens on the other one. Just activated. And now if we go to the control panel, that app that had been activated allows you to sell whatever you wanted. Contact or whatever. So we are using steganography as a cover channel. Because of that, we need to continue playing, because data is being transferred in a cover channel. And what we are going to have is contacts, for instance. That's it. That's simple. So we decide to do something different. So, okay, this is the idea. We can create an app and build a community of people that want to install that app, buy the app. But what about if we are able to steal the apps? So we started to work with an idea, and the idea was quite simple. How many apps of all of them that we have in our big data are belonging to a dead developer? I mean, the developer upload the apps, and what happened if the developer die? If someone go to the Google Play and remove the app and say and advise to all people that install that free game that that developer is dead, this is an orphan app. No one is taking control of that app. So we have the big data, we have tons of apps on it, and we decide to do for a simple idea. Let's try to discover how many of those apps are belonging to dead developers. So we analyze first sign of a dead developer is that the email is going to be removed. So we were looking for how many times without logging into one email account allows you to recreate the email account. So we were analyzing all different domains, as you can see. Very simple idea. And we decided to go for a simple example of 217 Outlook email. The idea of using Outlook is that was not synchronized with Google because it's Microsoft World, it's Microsoft Wallet Garden, and the other is Google Wallet Garden. So if the developer was using as a login an Outlook account, we can try to look for Outlook account that was dead on Microsoft Wallet Garden, but not in Google Wallet Garden. So we select 217 email accounts, and we discovered 215 email accounts that were able to recreate, all of them with 8 accounts. Only with 8 accounts, we were able to access to 4,854,350 downloads of apps for those 8 developers. We tried to recover and get access and control for those apps into the developer account. We recreate the accounts, and we asked to recover the password for Android developer identity. And, well, this is an example on how we were able to recover the account. And we decided to stop here and share that information with the government and let things inform. Because it was very easy for anyone to do this example. And the last part of this talk is related to the corporate Gremlin bots or Gremlin apps. And this is because I work in a company, as probably all of you. And in that company, in our company, we have a bring your own device policy. How many of you have that policy in your company, bring your own device? And how many of you need to install an app from your company? No one? No one? The last part is that in another companies there is a take your own device, which is not, I'm giving you a corporate device, which is completely set up with user, apps, etc. Is when the company gives to you the device, the hardware, but that device is free. You need to configure one Google or Apple account. How many of you have that policy in your company? I give you the mobile phone, but it's not set up, it's free, you can do whatever you think. And it's strange because it's like take your own device, and in the end you are setting up an email account, an identity, which is belonging to you. Is a contract between you and Google, between Apple and you. And what if that apps that you are forced or invited to install, for instance, apps related to an event, becomes malicious. So that was the idea of corporate and events apps in which you are using sometimes side loading. Any of you have been using side loading of an app in a company because the company said this is the app that you need to install, it's not in the market because it's only for ad, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. If you install that app, it's exactly the same. You cannot make sure that app is doing whatever it's supposed to be doing. At least you audit the code, and it's not very easy. And one of the things that you need to take into account is that even if it's your own device or take your own device, which is not a corporate device, it's a device that I give to you for free, but you need to set up your account, your photos, your file, your contact, your messages are belonging to you. So we tested this with a common app, and it's exactly the same. In a corporate app, you can do exactly the same. I'm not going to show you the long video because I took longer time. But the idea is exactly the same. This is a company. What happened if the company said, okay, this is the command and control. Let's do side loading. You need to know that there is you need to allow side loading. Right now, there are a lot of companies that are asking users to do side loading. Probably you are aware about the discussion or the conflict between Epic and Apple because of the side loading, or Google because they want to use side loading to download games and pay not to Apple, not to Google, but a third party to do that. This is the controversy about side loading. You need to allow side loading, but if you allow side loading, the app can get all information exactly the same and become malicious. So this is an example about a corporate app acting as a Gremlin app, and easy to understand. And that's all. So what I would like you to take from this talk is that every installed app, even one from your company, can do in your device everything that permissions allow it to do. And you need to always think the worst. I'm sorry, you cannot make sure that it's not doing anything but the worst. If you think that, you are in a wrong mistake. So trust. I trust in the company, I trust in the developer, I trust in the enterprise behind this is not enough. You need to apply zero trust, especially if it's your personal device. So any app can become a Gremlin app because an evil developer, as we saw at the beginning with the app that was transforming into a fake game or a rogue antivirus, because there is a bug in the code, which is very common today. We see a lot of example of this. This week, one researcher transformed an app into a spying device in your mobile phone, listening everything that you were saying just because a bug in one app. Because the app is sold, and you see the prices is very cheap, very cheap. It's a business case that makes sense for cybercrime, or because the app is stolen. There are not 100% of certainty that the app is still belonging to the developer that it was at the beginning. And remember, the last thing is, Dad, Mom, can I play a free game in your device that my friends play? The answer is no. Okay? Thank you very much, and enjoy Hacking the Box.
Well, thank you very much. Are there any questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
Tell me, my friend.
I have a question about Real Madrid.
Sorry?
I have a question about Real Madrid. I'm joking.
Tell me. I cannot hear you very well with the Max. Sorry.
I had a question about Real Madrid, but that was a joke. Sorry. When you show all these numbers about downloaded apps that some kids install because ask their parents and things like that, but aren't most of them that, and they are storing somewhere, take the place, and actually parents will need to run them in order to run this malicious code. Yeah, mostly they're sleeping apps. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, in the installations, when we were showing the number, that was installations, which is not active, monthly active users. Later on, you need to look for how many of them are used daily, weekly, monthly, or whatever. But that installations, and one important thing is that if you get access to the developer console and there is automatic updating for them, it's going to update with the operating system and normal behavior. But it's true what you're saying. You need to measure that number. But in any case, the price of the apps, you can see, is very cheap today.
Yeah, now Apple is deinstalling apps that are not used for a while.
Yeah. That's it. Any other question?
Thanks. Gracias. Muy buena presentación. I have a question. Do you know any threat intelligence feeds that includes this type of intelligence so we can action on that?
This kind of intelligence,
Yes.
looking into information
Looking
into apps.
into the stores, looking into these
Yeah, right. Today,
for sale.
yeah,
apps.
today there are a lot of not a lot of them, but most of the security companies are taking into account that kind of things. They are looking for what is happening in the app store with the app that you have in your company, and they are connecting to your mobile device management system. If you have an SMDM, you can connect that thread, that stream of apps and alerts to your devices. Today still is very common to take care about this in security companies, but it's not very common today into the companies itself. So if you go to your company, I don't know if you work for a security company or in a company as a security professional, it's very difficult to find companies that are taking into account what happened in the personal devices or bring your own devices or take your own devices that employees have. That's the truth.
Gracias.
But there are companies with tools similar to Tacit. We created Tacit in 2014, and today there are a lot of companies doing something similar. Even you can use platforms like VirusTotal to try to do something similar.
Okay. Thanks. Gracias.
Any further questions? No further questions. Then I would like to thank our speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.